I looked like a cross between Divine from the John Waters films and Sid Vicious. He like latched onto that, started like asking me for makeup tips, started dressing like me, and he really kind of like took my image and evolved it into his thing.
It was all accredited to Brian because he was the one selling it.
He was probably one of the better, if not the best, self-promoters in Florida.
I used to see Brian outside every major show. You'd see him out there with flyers that he personally made, handing them out to people. Trent Reznor and a lot of people picked up on what the band was doing.
Trent said, "It's really interesting. What the is playing drums?" Lo and behold, July 4th, we're opening for 9 Inch Nails. You know, there's just 4 of us, and one of us is just crawling around the stage. We don't have our together at all.
The first time that I met Brian, my band Genitorturers was playing, and we found out that our opening act for the night was the Spooky Kids. And I remember looking out on stage, and he was lighting his lunchbox on fire. Instantly, we became friends. Their performance at that time really was very cartoon-like.
His only shtick back then was just dressing crazy and having really inane props on stage.
I just remember really being struck by the Sid and Marty Krofft feel of everything. They had the striped socks, blue fingernails. They carried their Lidsville lunchboxes.
People thought we were creepy and kind of kooky, but that was just our influences. You know, we grew up watching cartoons, you know, and Willy Wonka.
They took everything from your childhood that you remember from the 70s and brought it into a big nightmare. It was just a real trip.
He had an unbelievable following. He used to have these young girls with their lunch boxes at every one of his shows.
A lot of girls with blue fingernail polish, with strawberry shortcake lunchboxes, just following them around everywhere. Brian's parents, they were very supportive, showed up to his shows wearing T-shirts with his picture on it.
His dad was great. I remember one of the shows, he was walking around with a priest collar, and he was just so proud.
When we started becoming more popular, he started getting better-looking girlfriends.
He really loved the attention because I think he lacked getting attention before when he looked, you know, like a regular Joe.
You know, Halloween is just around the corner, and as a special treat, I thought we'd meet some spooky kids.
I hosted a local music show on the local rock station. There was a big buzz about the band, and I wanted to get them on the show. And he gave me a cassette, and it had 4 songs on it. So I was listening to it, and then I got to My Monkey, and I absolutely loved it. I was like, wow, that's the one. I got to play this song. I was kind of waiting for some complaint calls to come in, and I never got one. All I got was, what was that? Who was that? Play that again. Brian was a very serious and determined individual, very smart.
He knew to get where he wanted to go, he had to be professional. Even when he was planning an outrageous stunt, he needed to do it right in order to get the full impact.
He asked me to videotape their shows. He would study them and, you know, see what went right, what went wrong. So I videotaped a lot of strange shows.
As we watched him and the band evolve, I watched it evolved into darker and darker regions.
They would do things with, like, chicken feet strung across the stage, to girls in cages dripping, you know, chocolate sauce off their breasts.
There would be nudity, body piercing, lots of sexual innuendos.
We had this thing, we were like bisexual, satanic drug addicts, and we recreated that hype.
He had this whole elaborate stage show set up.
It was almost like cabaret. It just got so theatrical that you forgot about the music.
All of a sudden, I got it. It was vaudeville. It was sort of like Alice Cooper brought into the early 90s.
I think the vision was pretty complete from the start. He wanted to provoke people into thinking, challenge the ideas of what a rock star was, challenge sexual ideas, religious ideas.
If it repulsed you, that was just as good as if it made you happy. It was just a lot of trial and error, and I think he finally just hit on the things that really touched people off.
He just wanted people to react, whether they reacted positively or negatively, as long as they had a reaction.
6 months after our very first show, we started packing clubs.
We started getting bigger locally, so we had to find manager.
Early in 1990, when we first started playing out, John Tovar saw our very first show.
I remember walking in there, and after seeing 2 songs, I really couldn't stand them, so I walked out. 6 months later, my friend Glenn Richards told me that Manson was the most requested act at his show every Sunday. You should manage these guys. They're going to go somewhere. So I went. I showed up to the place. It was like midnight. And there were 300 kids screaming, looking like him, like Manson. He had the aura of a rock star. To me, he was Morrison, Iggy, Bowie, and of course, Alice Cooper rolled into one. I realized, I said, you know, if this guy can draw this amount of people with no record deal, this guy's going to be a superstar.
John Tovar and his partner Frank Galari decided to sign us to their management company.
You know, I told him I like what you're doing, and I think it's cool. I only have one small problem with what you do. You need to drum it really bad, because that drum machine is not happening. I think that was the first time that Manson listened to me. He went out and got himself a drummer.
I mean, it just brought a whole new dimension to the band. I mean, it just brought it alive.
He had some very good guidance from John Tovar and some other people, but I think he just took in everything. He absorbed everything that was going on around and sort of shot that back at us, 10 times more obnoxious.
I think he wanted to see how far he could go.
Manson had a mission. He wanted to get out of South Florida.
He's like, I'm going all the way. I mean, there was no way to stop him.
He knew he was going to be a rock star. There was no question, no doubt about it.
Coming up, art and reality collide when Manson hooks up with his musical idol.
Trent rented the Sharon Tate house to put a studio in.
Here we are, Marilyn Manson, and we're recording where, you know, the Manson family killed some people.
Then, a spooky kid finds out the Manson machine won't tolerate weakness.
Basically, I got fired on Christmas Eve in rehab.
You either pull your weight or you'll be left behind.
And rock's most shocking act gets less than stellar reviews from the Jacksonville police.
Manson had a strap-on dildo as part of his act, and I guess they didn't really like that.
They arrested him.
Go now to VH1.com for an exclusive up-close look at magazine articles and promotional artwork created by Marilyn Manson before he hit it big.
Brian and Brad were on Hangin' with MTV.
We were guests in the audience. We weren't popular then. We just wanted to go because Brian had a crush on one of the hosts.
I'm Gal Maron, and if you're just joining us, you couldn't have picked a better time.
It was funny because we would dance for the songs. Two crazy, skinny white boys that can't dance. And they got the camera on us the whole time. For some reason, they zeroed in on us. And they come up to us. They're like, oh, where are you guys from?
You in New York for a while?
Yeah, we're here for 3 days. We're in a band, and we're doing a showcase tomorrow. So we're going to be hanging out.
From Miami, you said?
Yeah, we're from Miami. Band's Marilyn Manson.
And he's like, oh, I came here to see, you know, the host, but I'm upset because she's not here today.
We wanted Gail. I came here to marry her. She's not here. I'm sad.
What can I say?